Ohayo minasan! Welcome back to Our Life Beginning and Always. If you hear a little bit of noise and if this audio is a little weird, I have updated a lot of my setup, so a lot of the things are new to me. And somebody is sniffing around the room doing things she's not supposed to do. But other than that, we should be good to go. I'm so sorry for how late this is, but I really wanted to get into the final scene, so let's do this. Or, hold on. Oh, there we go. I was like, why wasn't it showing up for a second? Alright, we're continuing forward, everybody. Yes. Moths bounced against your window, attracted by the light of your room. A siren call in, slowly darkening the sky. Blech. A siren call in the slowly darkening sky. Just as the day was coming to an end, so too would summer. Liz would be moving back to the dorms before long. Luckily, Lee had been able to come stay for a short trip before her own new journey began. She'd officially been accepted to her first choice college a few weeks ago. This was her last chance to see you all in person for... You flicked through the plans for the next few months, realizing that you didn't even know where you'd next have the opportunity for everyone to be in the same place again. It was hard to think that you'd likely be seeing even less of your cousin going forward, but you were delighted that she was pursuing her dreams. While you were still with each other, your family was going to have dinner together. As ever, the Holdens were tagging along too. We're going to the Chinese restaurant. It was somewhere your family had always enjoyed going ever since you and Liz were tiny. The long-standing connection made it a fitting location for a final meal out before Liz and Lee set off again. Technically, you were getting ready to go out, though your mind was only half on the task. It was a pleasantly warm evening, the kind that epitomized the vacation feeling, and you were in no mood to spoil it by rushing around. While idly gazing at your room, you spotted a small cluster of unopened envelopes that must have been left for you by a parent earlier. You headed over to the table to flick through for anything of interest. As a child, any correspondence felt exciting due to its rarity. You recognize now that most of it was mundane, but you were checking any mail you got more regularly of late. There was something you were expecting. You stopped at a crisp white envelope. The logo proudly proclaimed the sender, a school you applied for. Oh, I'm gonna take a deep breath and read. This next step would take nerve. You close your eyes as you breathe deep, the air slipping through your lips as you opened your eyes once. You pulled apart the glue flapped on the front of the envelope and extracted the letter. Your eyes darted over the message, rushing past the pleasantries to get to the heart of the matter. The blood pounding in your ears deafened you to the world outside as it was contained within these letters. Your heart skidded to a halt as you read your verdict. You'd been accepted! Woo! We got into college! Thank God! What would happen if you never got into the college? Oh, that'd be bad. That'd be a bad, bad time. I'm gonna be relieved. Like, I was relieved when I got into college. The tension flooded out of your body with such intensity you needed to slump against the wall for support. Those are choices. Cove needs to be the first one to know. That's gotta be it. Wasting no time, you pulled up his number on your phone and rang your boyfriend. You pressed your phone to your ear, waiting impatiently for the dull ringing to be replaced with Cove's voice. It took a few rings, but you were in luck. Cove picked up the call. Hi, Blue. You blurted your news without the customary preamble of a greeting. Cove, I got in! I'm going to college!
Seriously?
That's That's your response, boyfriend? What? You heard him gasp before continuing, openly gushing over your good fortune. That's amazing! It's incredible! You did it! Congratulations, Blue! There was another pause as you and Cove both marveled over the announcement. No, seriously, this is really, really big, and you deserve it so much. I know it'll be good for you. His words brought a weight to your throat. Thanks, Cove. As soon as I heard, I wanted to talk to you about this. I had to call you right away. You heard Cove chuckle softly over the phone. Thanks, I appreciate it. You wanted to talk it through further, whether this could actually be your future, whether he really meant it when he felt you deserved it, if he felt you were equal to the challenge. But your hopes were temporarily dashed as Mom called up from downstairs.
Hey.
It's almost time to go. Blue, are you ready? Oh. You covered your phone with your free hand and turned away from the device, not wanting to deafen Cove. The yell was intended to reach another floor of your house, not an ear that was virtually inches away. Coming! You brought your mouth back to the phone. I've got to go. I'll see you soon.
I mean...
Yeah, there's something I want to tell you too, but we can do that later. We're about to have dinner together. That piqued your curiosity, but you exchanged goodbyes and hung up. Hurriedly, you finished getting ready for dinner, acutely aware that the time was against you. Well, darn that time that wants to... Despite that, you didn't regret the time you spent on the phone. It had all been worth it to speak to Cove. We'll make an announcement. At dinner. You tried your best to finish getting yourself ready for dinner ahead. It was a strain. Your mind had only been half on the task before. Now with the news fresh in your mind, it was a struggle to concentrate on anything else. You kept having to recall the thoughts away from the future and back to the present. Time was against you. Mom soon called from downstairs that it was time to go. You had to check the time, sure that you had 10 or at least 5 minutes left. You were wrong. You tore down the stairs, attempting to juggle your composure amongst the hurry and excitement. Your moms, who turned to greet you as you arrived, swapped silent, knowing looks. They couldn't possibly have figured out what happened, or so you hoped. As your moms, they were pretty good at telling things without being told. You watched them, hunting for any further signs that they were on the case, but none came. For now, it didn't seem like they knew what was happening. Not exactly, at least, but things were definitely happening, and even if they didn't know for sure what you were cooking up, they could smell something in the air. Everyone piled into the car. While it was marketed as being suitable to hold 5 people, in practice it made for a very tight fit. Your moms sitting in the front were fine. You, Liz, and Lee were squished together in the back, Lee in the middle, wedged between you and your sister. But Mom was an excellent timekeeper. Thanks to her efforts, you pulled up near the restaurant on time. The process of getting out of the car was slightly easier than squeezing into it, with much less coordination required to release seatbelts than to secure them. You gave Lee a hand as she clambered from the middle seat, then headed into the building as a group. A waiter greeted you as you entered. Ma let him know how many of you there would be in total, and you wanted to arrange a table that met your needs. He returned promptly to guide you to your seats. You perched comfortably in your chair, your head held aloft as if buoyed by today's good fortune. Your family settled down around you, all cheerful and looking forward to the evening ahead. Your drink order had just been taken when the Holdens came through the door. They were pointed in your direction, though with Mom waving an arm in the air, that was hardly necessary. Cove and Mr. Holden came to join you at the table. As greetings were being exchanged, Cove took a seat opposite of you. It had been left empty by unspoken acknowledgement that you and Cove would be wanting to sit together. Aw, thanks, family! I would have been really annoyed if you had just said, no, you can't sit next to your boyfriend. Mr. Holden sat beside him.
Hi!
It's great to see you! Glad you can make it. Hello, everyone. You wouldn't believe how hungry I am.
I see.
You came to the right place, then. There was some laughter, though. Liz groaned playfully, shaking her head at Mom's sense of humor. Growing up, she'd have complained, and Mom would have responded by making another comment. Liz had mellowed over the years, but she still made a show of despairing at Mom's jokes. Her reaction to them had become a joke in and of its own right. Menus were soon passed around, and a temporary hush fell over the table as everyone read. It didn't last long, punctured by comments on what people had eaten here before and light chatter about what people were considering tonight. Once the waiter had disappeared with your orders, Cliff piped up.
Okay.
So, I got some good news. Kyra's making a trip out here tomorrow. Cove nodded, turning from his father to the rest of the table. Yeah, we talked about it and figured this was a good time for everyone.
Very nice.
That's great! Everyone reacted positively to the news, though Ma looked wistful.
That's a shame.
If only we'd known. Here we are, having a big meal without her. If we'd waited one day, she could have joined us. Mom patted Ma on the back, gently nudging her from the realm of possibilities and what-ifs back to the evening that was going so well. Chin up! Lee and Liz will still be here tomorrow. We just have to throw another get-together and keep the fun train chugging along. I hate clicking that. Ma smiled warmly, taking Mom's hand in hers. That's true, there's plenty to celebrate right now. But there will be more good news and good times on the horizon.
Right.
Right, and speaking of, that's not all we've got either. Mr. Holden's eyes were alight as he sat up straight in his chair, face angled towards his son. He barely let a beat go by before nudging Cove with his elbow, pushing him to follow up on the announcement. He was the very picture of a proud papa. What the hell? Cove, did you get accepted into college? What are you doing? And why didn't you tell me this earlier? God damn it, Cove! Cove shed away from the limelight, ducking his head down and staring at his lap as he spoke.
Well,
Oh, I switched full-time. Are you not? Oh god, Cove. Well, it's just I've switched over to working full-time instead of only part-time. Plus, I've been looking at apartments. There's a few I can choose from. He flicked his gaze up at everyone around the table, a smile creeping over his face. I'll be pretty busy going forward. That's not really good news. Cliff, what's the good news? I'm concerned. Apartments. He was moving? Cove was gonna move out of his dad's house? After 10 years, he wasn't gonna be your neighbor anymore. Mr. Holden's gripped one of Cove's shoulders and gave it a loving shake. His excitement couldn't be contained. Incredible! Cove's actually gonna make it to adulthood. It's a miracle. Mr. Holden leaned back in his chair, staring up at the ceiling in mock wonder.
I'm so glad.
I wasn't convinced I'd be able to rear a kid all the way to this point. But thankfully I lucked out and got the best boy a dad could ask for. Dad? Cove blinked his vision with his hands on the side of his face, temporarily blocking his father from sight. Despite his genuine bashfulness, which left him unable to meet anyone's eyes after all the attention thrust his way, he was happy.
thanks.
I was really lucky too. You're a good dad.
Aw.
Aw, come here. Mr. Holden threw an arm around Cove's neck, pulling him into as close of a hug as the seating allowed. He rubbed his cheek on the top of his son's head while Cove chuckled, accepting the affection with good humor. You tapped on your own glass with a fork, something you'd seen done in movies with people like, really? We're doing that? God darn it, Blue. It didn't make quite the same noise, possibly because your glassware was a tumbler and not a champagne flute, but everyone looked in your direction anyway. I've got something to announce too. Totally bigger news, but of course.
Yeah.
Lay it on us. I got my acceptance letter today. I'll be going to college soon. You what? When was that a thing? It's always been the thing, Mom. I just never told you that was a thing. Oh, sorry. I didn't really want to talk about it before.
You're fantastic.
Well, nice, Blue. I'm impressed. Stop clicking that button, me. We should have known you had something up your sleeve.
Good job.
That's wonderful, sweetie. Ma roped you into a hug, her arms quicker than any lasso. You were thankful you sat next to her. If not, you didn't doubt that she would have dived over the table to reach you in her excitement. Hey, let me in on the hug. Your mom's Your mom's pincered you into a hug, leaning from the chairs to squeeze you in tandem. Liz beamed at you from across the table. Good job, Blue! Lee didn't hide her excitement, clapping her hands in open delight.
Seriously?
That's amazing! You're gonna be amazing! Mr. Holden gave you a thumbs up.
Good kid.
Impressive! You're a good kid! The world's your oyster! Cove grinned at you from across the table. He was still very pleased for you despite not being the first time he's heard about it. You looked around at the faces of the company here. You'd been on this journey with everyone here for years, seen them falter and grow, and they had watched you go through the same. Now you were striking out on a new path. Cove was leaving his family home, Liz was heading back to college, while Lee was starting at hers. You were all heading in different directions, two different directions, some near, some far, but it wouldn't be long until you were all going your own way. It always will trouble you, leaving those relationships from high school behind, and especially if you have an actual relationship, it's definitely concerning. So you look down at your lap, twisting the napkin in your balled fist. It was one thing to know that it was going to happen theoretically, and quite another to be faced with the reality. Your family and friends had given you stability no matter what life threw at you. Realizing that they wouldn't be there in the same way was like putting a foot down a stair that wasn't there. Your heart plunged as you sought to find metaphorical grounding. Ugh. Pope brought some attention to himself while clearing his throat with a small interjection. I'm gonna stretch my legs while we're waiting for the food and everything.
Sure.
Sure thing, bud. With a tiny smile, he nodded at his dad, but the lightness to his expression faded when he moved to face you. Wanna come? He was attempting to be subtle, but there was very obviously something on his mind, something he wanted to talk to you about alone. You looked up at him listlessly as he rose from his seat. You weren't sure you felt like talking, but having an excuse to get some space didn't sound like a horrible idea, so you nodded. Take care! With those parting words, the two of you walked around the place. He was trying to get as far away from everyone else as possible without actually exiting the building. What did you need to say? He hadn't admitted that was what this was about, but he didn't need to.
What's wrong?
Well, I was gonna say something about all that stuff Dad brought up, but are you okay? He peered at you, and you can tell his concern was earnest. You were being distant, and he had noticed. No, I'm not alright. We're gonna be truthful. Are you worried about things ending? He continued to look deeply in your eyes. All you could focus on was the aqua blue of his iris and the concerned crinkle of his eyelids. You know, I'm anxious about it too. Why wouldn't I worry about it? I don't like that you won't be there anymore, at least not like before. I won't be able to just walk across the street and find you. You won't run up to the beach with you whenever it's nice out. You won't be there to sneak up to my window at night to see me. Cove's expression dropped. There was something horrified in his eyes and sorrow in his frown. Even if I'm not across the street anymore, you can always call or text. I don't care how late it is. We'll talk every day. I'll make sure we do. He clenched his hand around his wrist tightly.
Blue.
I don't want to lose what we have, Blue. His voice was quiet, barely a whisper. He paused to take you in, and then his voice came out louder but meek. This really matters to me, a lot, more than anything else. There was steel in his eyes, a rare firmness that you didn't see from Cove often. You continued to feel upset. Your feelings had been dragged out, and you had no chance of calming down now. I'm sorry, Cove!
I'm so sorry.
Oh, Cove! I don't want to make you feel bad by bringing this up, just I don't know what I wanted. But I feel I had to say something about this. If not now, then when? Out of the corner of your eye, you noticed a nearby table of people just staring. Cove's outburst had attracted attention. The eyes on you just made things worse. You felt overwhelmed, smothered by everything going on. You couldn't handle this. I need some air. I wouldn't have said alone, but sure, Blue, let's be alone. Cove seemed pained, but he didn't protest when you breached past him and left the restaurant. There was nowhere else to go but out. You stepped out onto the sidewalk. A couple cars drove by the main street and the breeze hit your face. You took a few deep breaths now that conversation was no longer suffocating you. You weren't quite sure what to do next. Gaining space had been the only plan. You patted your sides on reflex and pulled out the spare key for your mom's car. Walking fast, you went down the sidewalk to the part of the street your parents had parked. You remembered going past a particular building on the way into the restaurant and managed to backtrack your way to the car without incident. You unlocked the car with a shaky push of the button. The headlights flashed. You pulled open one of the back doors and trucked yourself inside. Tucked. I don't know where I got trucked. You shut the door and the car beeped when you locked it again. While putting the key away, you switched it out for your phone. There were concerned messages from your family. Were you okay? Was something happening? Another text came from your sister at that moment. You didn't respond to any of it and held down the power button. You looked back to your phone and stared at the black screen. You could see part of your face reflecting back at you. Then you dropped your phone on the seat. You're gonna cry. Just gotta let it out, guys. Gotta let it out sometimes. Your eyes burned and you blinked slowly. You felt warm tears drip down your cheeks and your breath hitched. Suddenly, or maybe not so suddenly, as this had been building up for a while, you started to cry. Then you tried to, calm down. I always suggest, distracting yourself will work through your emotions, but we're gonna relax, You took a few deep breaths and tried to calm yourself. It was hard to get around your feelings of dread. A few minutes passed by. You breathed in the quiet. The car started to get warm, but you didn't feel like turning it on to get the AC going or roll down the windows. I want Cove to come see us. You picked up your phone from the cushion and pushed the power button. It took a minute to boot up. There were plenty of additional messages. You planned on checking out your family's text later and tapped on Cove's number first. You knew that you didn't actually want to be away from Cove. Sure, you need some space, but that can only last so long before you wanted him with you once more. Hey, I need you. Can you come to my mom's car? Cove texted back quickly, almost instantly. Okay. That was a relief. Another message followed shortly after. I'm here. What? When you looked up from your phone and out the window, nothing stood out as obviously Cove-shaped. He wasn't easy to miss. You were about ready to text him back when you saw that! When you saw a shock of green out of the corner of your eye. Cove stood up. He'd been sitting on the pavement, leaning against the car door. He straightened out and smiled carefully. He pointed towards the closest car door and raised his shoulders in a clear question. He wanted to know if it was okay to hop in. You nodded, not seeing the point of keeping him awkwardly outside. Cove walked around the other side of the car, opposite you. He put his hand on the door handle and pulled. He tried to open the door and obviously wasn't sticky. Why, Blue? Why did you keep it locked, Blue? God darn it, Blue! What the hell, Blue? You pressed the unlock button and he smiled after he heard the click. He sat down, then quickly closed the door behind him. For a moment, he faced straight ahead. His hands clenched when he got halfway through putting on his seatbelt before he realized he wasn't actually going anywhere. He dropped his arms and the seatbelt slithered back up to the side of the car. Neither of you seemed to know what to say now. Eventually, Cove turned to face you. He seemed serious. Everyone cared when you left the restaurant. Gail wanted to be here, but I promised I'd look out for you. He gripped the side of his cushion and regarded his lap. Like Liz, she told me I'd better not be making things worse or I'd never be considered a trusted adult for the rest of my life. Yeah, everyone's here for you, even if it's just me in the car. I get it. Cove stared deep into your eyes. You noticed he had some redness around his. You can do it. We can do it, Blue. Make a good life for ourselves. No matter how hard it seems, we can do it. He gripped your shoulders, and you knew he was doing his best to project confidence. He wasn't sure about himself, but he was trying for your sake. You suddenly remembered a long time ago a tiny little boy who had been scared of an unseen monster in the wind. Even though his small fists had shaken in fear, he'd still been as brave as he could because he'd known you were afraid. Cove had always done his best to be strong for you when you needed it. He definitely wasn't tiny anymore, but he was still taking care of you. I know what you're doing and you don't have to. Oh my god. I love you, Cove! Ugh. We're just gonna nod. He smiled and nodded back. Cove then studied you from over his shoulder with a soft expression. He twisted his body to the side and held up his open arms. You raised your eyebrows. Come on, I'm gonna hug you. You pulled yourself towards the middle seat so that you could reach him properly. You had to climb over one of his legs that he had resting across the seats. He turned so that he was completely sideways in his seat, back pressed against the car door, and made space in front of him for you. You settled down against him and leaned against his chest. You wiggled in to fit comfortably. He wrapped both his arms around you and rested one of his cheeks on the top of your head. It was very snug. He kissed your forehead gently and you relaxed into him. You breathed him in. The scent was uniquely Cove, oceany and citrusy. He made you feel secure and precious. Despite the cramped back seat of the car. Alright, hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. Someone fell off the sofa. Cove was very comfortable and his reassurance was nice. He was right here and he cared. It was hard to dwell on the future troubles when he was doing his best to comfort you.
Hey!
Hey, Blue. His voice was calming and his eyes were full of fondness for you. His mouth quirked into a crooked smile. I have a great plan. We can just stop thinking about that's a horrible plan. What the hell, Cove? You had no idea what he meant. He didn't acknowledge your confusion and continued. I still get the little apartment and you can move in too. I'll stay as close to here as possible and I'll get a new job in the shopping street. I'll sell pretzels. He lightly stroked your head as he spoke. On the word pretzel, he traced a loop-de-loop shape you had a suspicion was supposed to be a pretzel. You can probably find a job there too. You could also sell pretzels. We'll be business partners. Cove? I hope you're just doing this to be lighthearted and make me laugh, and that this isn't your actual game plan. And then we'll do that forever. We'll never have to worry about what to do or where to go, or letting our lives change ever again.
So?
What? That's... I'm gonna laugh through the tears. We're gonna laugh! It was just so ridiculous. You couldn't help but laugh, even when you could feel your eyes water. Cove, that plan sucks! Cove gave you a bent smile and looked theatrically confused.
Huh?
Huh? I wonder why you're not on board. It seems like an amazing solution to me. He was clearly just joking. You sighed affectionately. It needs some work. Cove glanced away from you and regarded the window straight across from him. He let out a breath. It can always be the backup plan. Okay? I don't think our backup plan should be selling pretzels. He was half kidding. You focused on watching his face as he spoke. Blue. He started to speak but drifted off. All the sounds of the world outside were muffled and distant. In that space, in that moment, it really felt as though there was no one except you and Cove. Cove softly ran his hand up and down your arm. It felt reassuring. Finally, he was able to continue his thought. No matter what, you can count on me if you need something, or even if you just want it. We're becoming more independent, but you're never actually alone in this world. I love you so much. Sounds like I'll never be rid of you then, huh? Yeah. You considered the thought of living with Cove in his tiny apartment in the pretzel plan, or just in general. Do you still want to have a life together, even if it's not selling pretzels? More than anything. Feel the same way. Cove beamed. You felt much better than you did 5 minutes ago. He was your ray of sunshine. Isn't he just... He's always our ray of sunshine. What are you talking about, Blue? He's always been our ray of sunshine. Cove turned red but met your eyes. He was happy, even though his blush took over his face. I guess we should be able to head back without carrying the weight of all this. Yes, please. I'd like not to be upset and crying when I go downstairs and see my family. That's important, after all. He paused with a smirk. You anticipated a joke, or at least an attempt at one. Our hands will finally be free for other things, like eating our meals, so that'll be nice. That's true. Our hands are free to do other things now. Did I know you were such an optimist? Cove chuckled and scratched the back of his neck. I can look on the bright side sometimes. He smiled, pleased at how everything had turned out. With that, you happily stepped into the world again. You made sure to grab your phone and the key on your way out. Cove's stomach rumbled after you locked your mom's car back up. Looks like we're heading back just in time. Yeah. Looks like it. It was a short walk back to the restaurant. It felt like you blinked and then suddenly you were retaking your place at the table. You felt nervous. You didn't want to explain what happened yet. Liz took your appearance with a grateful expression. To your surprise, she seemed alright with letting your disappearing act go. Thank goodness you're back! Blue, you have to back me up here. A hair elastic is called a hair elastic. What? Excuse me? What? Huh? Which conversation did I just drop into? It's a hair tie! What? Even just coming into the argument, you could tell they were just joking around. Neither Liz nor Lee were taking this semantic discussion seriously. Semantic. What about revenge? You can use both terms. We're gonna go with you can use both terms. I ain't taking a side in this. Traitor. How am I a traitor for saying they're both correct? Your mom's laughed and you felt discomfort subside a bit. Ma caught your eye. Are you alright, Blue? You nodded, though the next few minutes you found yourself drawn to different conversations, each one where everyone checked on you in their own way. The warmth of everyone's love comforted you. Bleh! You decided to tuck this treasured feeling close to your heart. You wanted to remember it for a long, long time. Night soon fell after everyone finished their meals, and before you knew it, you were standing in the parking lot, saying your goodbyes and packing up the cars to go home. After the last of the chores were done, your family spent some more time together. The rest of the night felt like it was going by in a blink of an eye, and somehow the time came to retire to your room to sleep. You pulled your covers up under your chin and settled down for the night, getting warm and cozy. As your head sank to your pillow and you closed your eyes, your mind drifted back to everything that had happened that day. You could see it all now behind your eyelids as though you were experiencing it all over again. And then the image of Cove popped into your head and you smiled softly to yourself. Okay. Alrighty guys, so we're going to make that choice next time on the final episode for now, because we will do the DLC for this part, and then obviously Step 4 is going to come out. But this is going to be the final episode for now next time will be the final episode of the main playthrough of our life beginning in all ways. At least for Step 3. Obviously, we all know there's more to come. Step 4 is going to come. The DLC for Step 3 is gonna come. I'm probably not gonna play the DLC for Derek. Can't remember his name. Oh, that's sad. I can't remember his name because he's only been in like one moment of this when you have Cove as your boyfriend. But obviously, Cove is the main love interest, especially for me. Cove is the reason I got in the game. I supported the game, so I probably will stay with Cove only, but I will show the DLC for Step 3, and I obviously will do Step 4. So those are things that are gonna come. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining me. Next time will be the final episode of Step 3. I will catch you all on the flip side. Bye, everyone.